love podcasting. This is the PoliticsJOE podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Back with a vengeance.
Woo.
Live and direct. It's Andy 12s.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. And it's Laura Beveridge.
Hello.
And it's Seán.
Hello.
With the kilos falling off him.
He's looking slim.
Yeah, very slim. I don't know if you can see it, but I can see it and they can see it.
Leave a comment saying how slim Seán is.
Are you worried? Because I kind
I
of
was
am.
worried you were going to get blown away in the wind on your way here.
I did actually. I'm still feeling it in the
cycle?
lungs, you know. I did cycle, but it's all uphill.
From just
No,
the office.
no.
Bleep that. From the office or from home?
Can we tell? No, we can. Yeah, it's better not.
Yeah,
to
bleep that.
tell them
Sorry.
where it is.
Don't dox yourself.
No, I cycled from home to here.
Where's
and
that? Just
it's
the
all uphill.
full address,
So
postcode?
my address, postcode, but it was uphill, and as you all know, it's windy today. It's so funny. Is it not windy? It is windy. I was out in it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's windy out. It's currently windy as well. It says that it's windy.
Yeah.
Was something funny?
Windy. It wasn't. It's not as bad as yesterday. Yesterday was worse. It was
It was
billowing
worse.
yesterday.
Yeah, no, it was the evening yesterday more than it was. It got into it in the evening time. It wasn't that windy in the morning.
This is great chat.
I love talking about the weather.
But that wind was blowing me back down the hill, and so it was very difficult to cycle in today. Shall we watch some PMQs?
Yes.
Yes.
Roll the clip.
The Prime Minister loves to hide behind legal process. I wonder what a director of public prosecutions would make of the defence. Sorry, I can't produce my WhatsApps. My phone's been stolen. The Jackdaw gas field could be up and running before winter. All that gas would be used here in the UK to heat 1.6 million homes. That is enough to power Norfolk, Suffolk and Essex put together. So will the Prime Minister approve the licences, or is the Energy Secretary running the government?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, legislation has been passed. It's absolutely clear that the quasi-judicial duty under legislation rests with the Secretary of State. I really think if she's going to put this challenge to me, she needs to read the legislation. That is the legislation that they applied for 14 years. It's exactly the legislation that they used to put the licences in place, which were then struck down because the process was defective. But, Mr. Speaker, let's be clear. When Russia invaded Ukraine, energy prices doubled. The 12-day war, oil prices hit £100 a barrel. In the last 4 weeks, because we're on the fossil fuel roller coaster, everybody has been held to ransom. The only way forward is to go further and faster on renewables. And the leader... Mr. Speaker, the leader of the opposition's approach is to outsource our foreign policy and let the US decide whether we go to war, to outsource our energy policy to Russia and Iran and let them set the price of energy. I will never do that because it's not in the British national interest.
Mr. Speaker, he is hiding behind so many people. He is the Prime Minister. He can make this decision today. He can. He can. He is so weak, he's the first person to be pushed around by the Energy Secretary. Let me remind him, Mr. Speaker, let me remind him who is on my side. The unions, yes, GMB, they're on my side. Tony Blair. Mr. Speaker, Renewable UK, the very people that he's talking about, they are saying drill in the North Sea. Centrica, Octopus Energy, even Labour MPs. Let me quote the Labour member for Pembrokeshire who says, offshoring our carbon emissions might give a sense of moral superiority, but it is simply impoverishing our communities. We agree. So why does the Prime Minister think he knows better than everyone else?
I'm going to have one more go. The legislation, the statute, the law prescribes the decision maker. They know that. They should be embarrassed that she doesn't even... she's attacking me without having read the legislation. The legislation sets out who the decision maker is. It's the Secretary of State. It is not the Prime Minister. It has to be the Secretary of State, and it's a quasi-judicial process, exactly the process that they ran for many years. And, Mr. Speaker, oil and gas is part of the mix for many years to come, but we do need to get onto renewables. But, Mr. Speaker, we're discussing this because of the war. We need to de-escalate. And that is, yes, we are. That is why I stuck to my principles not to join the war and to act in collective self-defence. I appreciate the Leader of the Opposition doesn't get that. She wanted to jump into the war without regard to the consequences and then do a mother of all U-turns, and now she's stranded without a thought-through position. And, Mr. Speaker, when she was asked at the weekend whether she approved of the war, she said, that's a difficult one. It certainly is if you've got absolutely no judgment.
Andy, why are we not renewing our North Sea oil and gas licences?
So it's part of the transition towards net zero. And before we started recording, you said that there was a bit of a contradiction in Mr. Keir Starmer's response. And the idea that we need renewables to ensure energy security. We also need to stop the war in Iran to secure energy security. And it's part of, a 15, 20-year transition, both for energy security and for workforce security and national security, a transition out of oil and gas and onto renewables. And it's not, as some may want it to be, just a dead stop. Yeah, we're just going to close all of the oil rigs, all of the fields. We're going to transition out because we've learnt the lessons from the 1980s and 90s, deindustrialisation, where you just stop. It does fuck communities and fuck the workforce and fuck GDP. And it's this idea that we do need the war in Iran to stop, so then we can continue to make that fair transition out to protect the workforce and to protect the economy and to protect energy security, but also ensuring the renewables. So I don't think there is a contradiction necessarily. And I think it is right that he hasn't renewed, but I think Kemi Badenoch's political illiteracy, because a lot of people who watch this that aren't massively into politics would agree with her that he's the Prime Minister. Why can't he just do this over his Business Secretary? But actually, legally, he is correct. He can't just wade in and get amongst it over the Business Secretary, the Trade Secretary, or the Energy Security Secretary. So I think this is, unfortunately, very consistent of PMQs of taking something reasonably complicated and putting it down to a reductive yes or no, jeer or no jeer, which is a shame.
Also, quite hypocritical, I think, from Kemi Badenoch, because it was under the Conservatives that Grangemouth was allowed to close, and that was one of the only refineries that could actually refine North Sea oil. I thought it was interesting, given the profile of Ed Miliband in the New Statesman as well, which was kind of like profiling him as being just how powerful the Minister for Energy actually is in Britain. But he raised an interesting point in that piece where he said that he went to the UK's largest wind turbine field, whatever you want to call it.
Wind farm.
Yeah, wind turbine field.
Wind turbine field.
Windmills. Yeah. He went to onshore wind farm, and he was questioning, why is it owned by Sweden? Because if we're going to transition to net zero, we aren't really increasing our energy security all that much if we're still outsourcing these companies to China or to Scandinavian nations.
Well, that was sort of the argument that a lot of people had against rail nationalisation, which was our rails were nationalised, but they were owned by other countries, like France and Germany. And that was the point of, well, if they're going to be owned by a country, they might as well be owned by us.
Some remarkably, just on the rail nationalisation, there was some really on-the-nose displays of other countries' national rail companies owning rail companies in the UK. Avanti West Coast was owned by Trenitalia. Avanti is forwards or onwards in Italian, I think. And the some of the stock of the London Overground network had DB Deutsche Bahn on the front of the train. It was owned by Deutsche Bahn. The question of your chat about the wind turbine fields
Yes.
and them being owned by Sweden. I think we keep banging the drum on this, but I do think it's a very important point that in 2022, Keir Starmer's Labour conference speech, he announces GB Energy and makes it out as this 28 billion a year national renewable energy project. And as the years go by, from 2022 to 2024, there's a continual chipping away at what GB Energy is going to be until it is at this point effectively just a pot of money that exists for other companies, other countries to come in, take a grant from the UK government to develop the UK's renewable stock. And on your point of the idea of, obviously, when you're going to the green transition, you are going to need a diversity of your energy supply. I guess somebody watching PMQs who is, I don't know how to describe that person, but essentially someone who understands that there does need to be diversity of the energy stock. The question would be, well, why can't the business secretary, the energy secretary, and the prime minister work in unison to develop new fields in the North Sea so there's sovereignty over the fossil fuels that we're using? Because you are still going to be beholden on the whims of a madman if you're waiting for Iran to turn around and say, okay, we're going to open up the Strait of Hormuz again. But if you have the North Sea open and you start to, why are you looking at me like that?
Because I don't think that, I think the oil price is set by the international market.
No, not the prices, the ability to get the oil here and also to distribute it amongst European countries rather than relying on Iran in the first place, to have to transport it through the Strait of Hormuz to get it to the UK.
But
if
a lot
there was
of the
more,
UK's oil is exported for refinement.
Yeah,
Right.
We don't have the refineries here anymore.
Yeah,
Right.
so I think that's like part of the issue is like the oil market is so international. We can't even right now stop Russian oil coming into the UK, even though we've sanctioned it, because it gets mixed and refined mainly in India, where they don't keep track of where the oil has come from. So it's like if we can't even keep to our own sanctions, it feels. I just think there's no way to like sort of entangle ourselves from the international oil market. Like there's no way to really have sovereignty over your oil.
I think also in the North Sea, there's just not enough of it, that building refineries and making it into a 20, 30, 40-year project, there's just not enough oil to make it worthwhile. And even, like, again, it's just tied to the international market, so it's just not a thing that's worth doing, either for reactive polling for the Prime Minister who wants to create energy security as a boon to his reputation, but also just economically, it's just not worth doing.
so on that then, when he's saying that
Sorry, Sean, I
he
feel like we
doesn't...
ganged up on you there.
No. I was thinking out loud, and I did have a feeling that it was because, well, as you said earlier on, Grangemouth was the last refinery that the UK had.
I think that Scotland had that could refine North Sea oil. I think there might be one still in England that can.
Okay. But the point being that the international market and the international economy around energy is such that you need to be, On the point that Keir Starmer makes of the UK with the decisions he's making around Iran not being tied, not having our energy or our energy sovereignty. What was the quote? Outsource our energy to Russia and Iran. The point that you're making there is that no matter what he does, it's still going to be outsourced to those countries anyway.
Unless we fully transition to net zero, I guess, which is kind of, I think, where, to go back to the point that Andy made at the beginning, is that we will still be, during the net zero transition, because you can't just immediately do it all at once, we're always slightly going to be tied to international affairs and what is happening on the international oil market, but you can kind of offset it by investing more in renewables, but in the meantime we will still be tied to it.
Yeah, I think also on Kemi's point about even the unions and the MPs back us, and then she named one trade union, the GMB, and one MP, Henry Tufnell.
He wrote in, was it The Sun that he wrote his piece in?
Something egregious like that. This is Tufnell of Tufnell Park, by the way. He, not to dox him, this is public.
What was the Tufnell tweet? That he was clavicular, that did model UN?
Yeah, clavicular did model UN.
He's very good looking. He's also dyslexic. I don't know if you've seen his TikToks recently. He's been doing like little explainer clips about him that don't get very many views.
Just like Gavin Newsom.
Is he dyslexic as well?
Yeah, that's why you never see him read a speech.
Oh, wasn't that a thing? A couple of weeks ago, he was at a Black American caucus event of some description, and he was talking about educational attainment in the Black community, and said something that sounded like, if you didn't know that he was dyslexic, he was saying that Black people can't read.
I did not hear that. I heard Donald Trump took shots at Gavin Newsom for being dyslexic, and basically said that basically he was insinuating that you don't want a president that has dyslexia
Which
for
is
some reason.
ironic because there were reports from when Trump did SNL before he was nuts. Well, he was always nuts, but before he became like a big
Fully nuts,
Republican,
yeah.
that he just couldn't read. Like he can like physically read, but like
Yeah.
he couldn't
Comprehend.
Yeah, he couldn't do the scripts and couldn't like get into it because of his own sort of mannerisms that would interrupt it, which I thought is ironic.
Shall I read the comment?
Yeah.
So in February 2026, he was at an event in Atlanta, Georgia, and said, "I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just trying to impress upon you. I'm like you. I'm no better than you. I'm a 960 SAT guy. You've never seen me read a speech because I cannot read a speech."
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Peak.
Wild.
That's great. He compared himself to Patrick Bateman as well. I don't know if people used
Yeah, I saw that.
half
Yeah.
and half. That was
Yeah,
good.
yeah. We are past the point of politics being serious, I think, if a guy that's being widely tipped as the Democrats' pick next time round is just aura farming.
But it's also like embracing a meme because I think his critics in California used to compare him to Patrick Bateman a lot for his sort of policies on drugs and homelessness. But now he's kind of embracing it and using it to his advantage.
He hates homeless people and Republicans, and he's all out for homeless people.
Patrick Bateman famously hated homeless people.
Yeah.
So
He did. Next clip. Yeah.
And Mr. Speaker, as a former Secretary of State for Energy who granted licences for oil and gas exploration, can I make a judgment on this argument? The Prime Minister is actually right and the lead opposition is wrong. Mr. Speaker, the law is clear and I believe in the rule of law. Mr. Speaker, just before President Trump posted about his supposed negotiations with Iran on Monday, traders made hundreds of millions of dollars of extra bets on oil futures. This looks like Donald Trump giving his mates insider information so they can make themselves richer, while his illegal war in Iran makes everyone else poorer. This looks like corruption of the very worst kind. Does the Prime Minister share my fear that Trump is making his war decisions based on what enriches himself and his friends rather than what makes peace in the Middle East?
Prime Minister.
Well, can I thank him for his verdict? At least he's read the law that she obviously hasn't read. But, Mr. Speaker, in relation to the traders, we've seen the activity there. What I can say is that all of my decisions are based in the best interests of our country, and that's why I've decided that we will not get dragged into the war, unlike the Leader of the Opposition, and I've decided we will act in collective self-defence of ourselves and our allies. And so I comment on my actions, and they're the principles behind my actions.
Ed Davies siding with Keir Starmer there.
Yeah, what a loser. And I don't like it when he talks. I like it when he does a little jig or something, like he does a little
Really,
stunt.
I find it...
Well, I think his talking is worse than his dancing.
did you see they did like a
Bake Off thing.
Yeah, and I thought that's the most Lib Dem thing I've ever seen.
It is kind of...
Well, the hearts of Middle England, though. Everyone loves
But I
Bake
mean,
Off.
does it really, like, if you're turning around and that's the launch of your May elections and you're doing something that was big, well, I suppose Bake Off is still big, isn't it? But it's not really giving anyone a sense of what the party is, like what the big drive for the Liberal Democrats is in May.
not the other guys,
and
isn't
then
it?
what is it? The top line is basically we're going to stand up to Trump.
Yeah.
You're running in councils. What are you talking about? Like, you can't do this. I don't know. I just find it like, yeah, okay, fair enough. When it comes to the general election, you're trying to get screen time. You're trying to get interviews, and so you do the most sensational things. Like, what was it he did with Matt Chorley? Like, ziplined with Matt Chorley, and Matt Chorley asked him
They were
these very
paddling and-
like
The spinning
fine
teacups one
questions.
as well.
Yeah, like.
That was cool.
I don't think you learn a lot about the Lib Dems, which probably benefits the Lib Dems in the long run because they're kind of, I mean, obviously they had their downfall after the coalition years, but given that they've, 70 splash MPs now, they seem to be doing quite all right for a party that you can't really name what their policies are, apart from Trump bad.
It's pro-Europe, isn't it? So FBP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And pro like social care as well, I guess.
Yeah.
That would be the three sorts of things.
But that's not like, as noble as these things are, they're not things that you're like, I want a person that I only know doesn't like Donald Trump and does like social care to be the leader of the country. You know?
Well, I think, he was quite funny. As an energy secretary, I think Starmer won way, and Kemi Badenoch was shouting. I don't know if it was in that clip because it was a bit after or on his second question, was shouting, "Stop sucking up! Stop sucking up!" And it's like, I think it is not unrealistic that someone like Ed Davey could, or whoever the leader of the Lib Dems is at the next election. That was something I found interesting. Away from PMQs, they've speak it and it happens. But Matthew Hulbert, who's quite a big Lib Dem pundit, went on GB News and was like, "Yeah, Ed Davey will be gone by the end of the year." Like the membership base or pundits who claim to represent the membership base are kind of soft launching his departure because they feel like he has wasted that 70-odd MP caucus that he's got in Parliament.
Do you have a favourite to replace him?
I think Josh Babarinde, the current president of the Lib Dems, is being floated. But
Is he the one that raised the point of order at the end?
Yeah. But Daisy
Which
Cooper,
we'll come to.
We will. Daisy Cooper, the deputy leader, is also being tainted, and Layla
Tainted.
Touted.
Tilted, something.
Yeah.
Tainted. Touted.
Yeah.
Touted. And
Layla Moran, surely.
Yeah.
But Layla Moran, I think, has had a really rough go of it because she's sort of been kind of someone for the last 10 years. The Lib Dems she might, and then internal
She was
politics.
in the runoff with Ed last time round,
Yeah,
wasn't
and
she?
she was
I call
big
him
during-
Ed because I'm mates with him, by the way.
And she's always been kind of very close to the proximity of leadership, very similar. Well, this doesn't count because Ed Miliband was actually leader, but actually extremely similar to Ed Miliband's, ignoring the 5 years he was leader, very similar to Ed Miliband's position.
If you just ignore what actually happened, it's a very similar situation.
But do you know what I mean? He's
Yeah,
always. It's almost like Frank Underwood in House of Cards. He's always in the corner, just watching on. And I think that could be quite interesting because Josh Babarinde's not a typical Lib Dem, a big. I think he was a military man.
Is he a
national security
24
background.
guy?
Is he 24 or was he 2019? We can live fact check this.
Let's find out right now. Continue.
But he's not
while I do that.
you don't imagine him being like a home counties gardener doing the bake sale kind of thing. He's got a bit about him, which I quite like. What do you think, Laura?
Yeah, I think the role of...
He's a 24 intake.
24.
That'd be radical if he clinched that leadership from 24.
Quick ascension, yeah. I think it would be interesting the role that the Lib Dems might play at the next general election if things are going to continue on the route they are, because they could maybe play that kingmaker role again where actually who is leader of the Liberal Democrats will really matter if they have to form a coalition.
I just don't think I think they got away with getting with Cameron because he was sort of a liberal conservative and the wettest of the wet, sort of on the Tory side. But I don't think they could get away with Farage and reform. If it came to it, I don't think that could.
I'd imagine their king-making capacity would be more in the Labour, Lib Dem, Green Party
Coalition
world, Rainbow Coalition. If Starmer is still in charge, I wonder if somebody else would want to go in with the Liberal Democrats.
Well, they toppled one Labour leader because they made Gordon Brown resign, didn't they, in 2010 in the middle of the negotiations as a sign of good faith. So, mayhaps they do it again.
On the substance of the question, though, he's talking about basically the market manipulation of the Trump administration. You've got numbers there that you've been looking at for a while.
I'm pretty sure he's referring to the FT exclusive, which was that traders made on the S&P. Traders made bets worth $500 million in the oil market about 15 minutes before Donald Trump made a Truth Social post touting that he'd had productive talks with Iran, which sent the price of crude oil tumbling.
Which turned out to be false as well, right? The Iranian Speaker of the Iranian Parliament came out a couple of hours after that and said that there were no talks between them, and then the price spiked again.
Yeah.
I
think the role of gambling, and I'm going to include anything on the stock market, because Polymarket and Kalshi, these new markets that are coming up as gambling markets, are just extensions of the stock market and how people have used the stock market for ages. And I think there's a really interesting talk about the ethics of Polymarket, because people have made... Well, some traders have made $1 million off of just betting on Iran war related bets. And And there's been a lot of outcry about the legality and ethicality of betting and making money on war, especially when you're betting on whether someone's going to die or not, or whether there's going to be missile strikes. But that is kind of what stock traders have always done. If there's a war somewhere in the Middle East, they change what they're betting on. They change their bets on the price of oil. So I'm not actually too sure how the new phenomenon of polymarket and Kalshi differs to what people doing the
Well, even
trading on the stock
outside of,
market
yeah,
have been
exactly.
doing.
Like, I think the volatility of Trump 2 is probably the biggest display of how fake money is, especially when it's in this financialized system, right? That there are a certain amount of people in Wall Street or Canary Wharf or wherever it might be that get a whiff of something happening and make a shit ton of money off it. Gary Stevenson talks about it all the time. That's what he used to do for a living, or still does in some capacity. I'm not entirely sure. But especially with how volatile it has been since Donald Trump, particularly in the oil markets. And then there were the stories about, was it $30 million worth of oil stocks that Baron Trump bought before the initial invasion the airstrikes a month ago. It was 30 million worth that Baron Trump went in for. Great astuteness in the stock market to be able to predict something like that. You wouldn't possibly imagine that it's his father doing something
I'm sure
on his behalf or whatever. But the idea that the White House or people in positions of power are able to give forewarning to people to be able to make those decisions, and then everybody else has to face the consequences of it at the petrol pump. It's an insane world to be living in, that you see it so plain as day. You know, I was talking to Elon Pape about something different it was about Israel and Palestine last year, and his point was that no matter what was happening under Trump, all of that was going to happen, whether it was Biden or Harris anyway. It would just be done in a more diplomatic or under the table way. And that doesn't necessarily just extend to, you see things of like the amount of money that Nancy Pelosi made during her time as the Speaker of the House.
Like everything, or just financial. Everything would have happened, but in a more diplomatic way.
So Elon Pape was talking specifically about the genocide in Gaza and how US foreign policy doesn't really change between the two parties. It's just attitudes are different and the spectacle around how the party operates is different. What I'm saying now is when you look at the money that people like Nancy Pelosi make or other Congress people are available, or there's many such cases.
That's another Trumpism.
Many such cases.
That's his.
But there's just a different way of operating with it. There's a lot more not smoke and mirrors, but these things aren't talked about as much, and there's not as much volatility. It's more of a subtle.
I don't know if I'm not a foreign policy expert. I'm not an economic policy expert. I don't know if that's true. I can't imagine a Harris or a Biden or whomever would have locked out the UN and done a board of peace starting in Gaza. If they'd continued, I think the UN would have had a more active role. I think that, especially around like Venezuela, they wouldn't have toppled Venezuela. They wouldn't, 2 weeks before, have cleared another South American leader for the exact same charges that they went after Maduro for. I don't think that would have happened. And, you know, if they hadn't toppled Venezuela, this year would have played out radically differently. I don't think a lot of the stuff around ICE and a lot of the domestic policy stuff would have happened. I know Obama, deported more people than Trump 1.0, but I don't think he would have sent out a secret police that were barely trained to go and execute citizens. Like, I think, and we get this a lot in the UK, going, oh, there's no difference between Starmer and Badenoch and Reform. I just think that's bollocks. I would rather have a neocon or a neo-lib or a social democrat than a fascist. And I think the uniparty stuff, I don't really have a lot of time for, especially when we've seen it in action in Trump 2.0. I just don't have a lot of time for it. With respect to the guy, and I'm sure he knows what he's talking about, but I just don't agree.
I think what's interesting about what happened in Venezuela as well is that almost wasn't foreign policy is traditionally conceived, because the people that carried that out was Stephen Miller, who's basically in charge of our equivalent of the Home Office. So that would be like the Home Office rather than the British Army toppling a foreign leader, which is just an interesting aspect in it all. And that how I think maybe what Ellen Pappy was getting at is that Trump 1 and the Biden administration weren't operating that differently. But I think Trump 2 is operating very differently from Trump 1.
Yeah.
But I think maybe what makes what we're seeing with the Iran war so abhorrent is that it feels like there's a gamification. It's like an extreme gamification of war. And because of things like Polymarket and Kalshi, which anyone can access, it's not just a small group of financial traders that are making money off of this, but all of a sudden anyone can suddenly bet on life and death in a way that they couldn't before. Do you know who was one of those people betting on life and death when the US would strike Iran? George Cottrell, who is known as Posh George, who's one of Nigel Farage's, or was one of Nigel Farage's advisors.
Is still pictured with him.
Is still,
2 weeks
yeah.
ago.
I was going to say
Pictured
it
with
was in
him-
Clacton, right?
Was it in Clacton? It was when he went to a restaurant or a bar and they had to shutter the front and they locked them inside because of the protesters outside. Was that in Clacton? They covered it extensively on the Daily Mail website because they sent photographers, and Cottrell and a couple of others, Ethan Thoburn, who used to be a DUP advisor, were steps behind him.
So he didn't have insider information because he lost tens of thousands of dollars on that bet.
Get back at it.
A lot of the bets that went on to both Venezuela and Iran wars, Ayatollah's death or the timing of strikes, lots of news outlets, including The Guardian, the New York Times, have gathered sufficient evidence that points to this is insider trading. These are people that fully know when these things are going to happen. And sorry, I've fallen down a rabbit hole of this stuff, but there was a really interesting one to do with Caroline Leavitt and how long her press conference would go on for. And there was like a specific time, I can't remember it now, and it was like, oh, she'll speak for 64 minutes. And literally at like 63 minutes 59, she ends her conference. And a lot of people were saying that had she either... was someone insider trading, or had she perhaps seen that there was this poll going on and thought, well, I'm going to end just before and annoy everyone. So it's interesting that these markets now are influencing politics and geopolitics. Because there was also I'm on one now. There was also the Times of Israel story, which I don't know if you saw this, but there was a Polymarket market open about whether Israel would strike Iran would strike Israel. And a journalist, a reporter for the Times of Israel, reported that, yes, a missile had hit somewhere in Israel, and he started receiving death threats from users claiming, anonymous users on Polymarket who had bet that wouldn't happen, saying, change your report, say it was just shrapnel. So they're actively trying to rewrite history to go with their Polymarket bets, which is very interesting.
So Polymarket isn't legal in the UK.
It's not legal in the US.
Is it not illegal?
So the legality around Polymarket in the US is really interesting. There's a restricted version that's available to US users, which doesn't have death bet markets, but anyone with a VPN can access the death bet markets, and they think that like millions of dollars have been placed via VPN.
So I was thinking, in the UK, they've got a version, it's called Manifold Markets, but you can't trade real money on it. It's like fake money. And it's like an effective altruist venture that you have mana is the currency on there. And it can be translated into real money because you can donate your mana into USD or GBP to a charity. But you can't make any personal financial gain. And it's a set list of effective altruist charities. And I'm vaguely active on there. It's not got a massive UK user base because effective altruism only inhabits a bit of East London. It's a lot bigger in San Francisco. And there is a lot of like death bets on there. It's like, I put a bet on, it was only 5 mana, but it was like, will King Charles III live till the end of 2025? And it's like, not as morbid as, is Mr. Ayatollah going to get his head blown off by the US? But like, still that kind of stuff does exist in niche pockets of the community. Have you read about prediction markets? You know a lot about the very niche Polymarket stuff.
Not yet.
Soon come. Next one?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and can I associate myself with the Prime Minister's remarks on the terrible Golders Green attacks? Mr. Speaker, rebuilding trust and integrity in our democracy matters deeply to my constituents in Southampton. Shamefully, it doesn't matter at all to some, particularly the senior Reform UK politician who has been convicted of taking bribes from Russia. Does the Prime Minister agree that there has never been a more urgent need to defend our country from hostile forces who would try to undermine our democracy? And will he set out what concrete steps he is taking to crack down on foreign interference in British politics?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank my honourable friend? He makes a powerful point. Mr. Speaker, the Communities Secretary will make a statement later on the Rycroft review, which sets out the stark threats posed by illicit finance. I can tell the House we will act decisively to protect our democracy. That will include a moratorium on all political donations made through cryptocurrencies. I hope that will be welcomed across the House. There is only one party leader who has shown he will say anything, no matter how divisive, if he's paid to do so.
Nigel Farage.
So, Laura, what's he got to say?
Well, he is raising this question about donations in cryptocurrency because actually just after PMQs, Steve Reid, Housing and Communities Secretary, right, is going to give an update on the government review into party donations, which was launched on the back of Nathan Gill, Reform's former leader in Wales, being arrested for taking money to give a pro-Moscow
Been
speech.
convicted, sent to prison for 10 years now.
It's in jail,
He has
yeah.
indeed. And some of the things that are being briefed about what's going to be in this is a £300,000 yearly cap on political donations. There was like a really strange noise there.
Are you okay, Ben?
I'm okay.
Are you sure?
What happened?
Just a clattering.
Like, it was like a clattering or like a squeal or something like. Did you hear that? Yeah, it was like whoa, like that.
Maybe someone's in the walls.
Oh, maybe.
All pretty standard back here.
Okay, that's good. That's
So
good to
it
know.
wasn't Ben. But yeah, sorry. So there's going to be a £300,000 cap on political donations from citizens abroad, and as well as a suspected ban on receiving currency in crypto donations, both of which seem to be slightly targeted towards Reform because they've had a £12 million donation from Christopher Harbin, who's Thailand based, and they were also the first party
Is it
to
12
accept.
or 9 billion?
I think it was 9 initially, 12 total, but check
Right,
me
okay.
on that. And then they were the first party to accept crypto donations as well.
So I don't know if this is an exclusive because I don't know if I gave this to someone. I might have said it to someone, but I don't think it got published. So here you go, exclusive.
Yeah, 12 million total.
12
Sorry,
million
beg your
total.
pardon.
Christopher
12
Harbin, the donor who spaffed all this, he's got a brother who's his brother. And
What?
No, what? No. I don't know what his brother does for a living.
You've blown the case wide open, 12.
I don't know what he's got a brother, guys. I don't know what his.
This billionaire has a fucking brother.
I don't know what his brother does. I don't know if he works for him or whatever. But his brother came and was shadowing Lee Anderson on Lee Anderson's GB News show, Lee Anderson's Real World, which you can watch every Friday at 7:00. I'm on it next week.
Stay tuned for that.
So yeah, keep in touch.
That was really fun when it first came out.
What, the lefty in the corner?
Yeah,
The
table.
lefty in the corner. I remember the first episode. I can't remember what Tory MP he
It was
had
the
on
beans
it,
with
but
Brendan
the
Clark-Smith.
beans. That's right. Yeah, you spoon feeding them beans.
Yeah, that was. Anyway, by the by, this is filmed out in a pub in Essex, and Christopher Harbin's brother was there shadowing Lee Anderson, and he'd been shadowing him the day before because they'd gone to a few events in the House of Commons. I think I'm not going to allege anything, but I think it is extremely interesting that not long after Christopher Harbin had done quite a favour for the Reform UK party, that his brother, who has no political standing or political experience,
Got
is
to watch the television show.
shadowing Lee Anderson at a live recording.
How old is his brother? Because I'm imagining
This 10-year-old. That's no
I'm
big
imagining
fan of Lee
a
Anderson.
16-year-old on their school work experience.
No, this guy's like 40 odd. And
so-
he said that I've got.
So is your scoop that Christopher Harbin has given £12 million to Reform UK on the proviso that his brother gets to watch Lee Anderson's Real World in person?
Well, I think there is a serious point in there about maybe cash for access in the sense that this guy, he's not a 16-year-old doing it for his uni placement. Like I'll take a punt, some 40-odd. I'm sure that's verifiable on the internet. Who is just kind of following Lee Anderson around.
And he is his brother, you said?
He is his brother, yes,
Yeah.
because he thought that I was a member of Reform UK when we just sat at the pub, and he was like, oh, you know what, my brother's done a lot for the party. And I was like, well, this is fucking Communist China, the party, what's this? And I was like, which we're not, I don't think we're the same party. He was like, well, Reform, right? I was like, no, I'm Labour and Co-op. And he was like, oh. And then he hushed, and then he said something about my eyes and watercolour painting, and then he fist bumped me. Goodbye.
Yeah, I feel like we need to say that Andy's not like accusing him of doing anything.
No, I just think
No. He was just
It's just non-defamatory.
as Andy
was there.
sat
He was there. There's
in the
evidence he was
TV
there.
studio, he was sat there as well,
And
complimenting you on your eyes
he'd been there
and how they may or may not be like a
He'd liked
watercolor.
watercolour painting them. I believe.
Right.
He
wanted to
he wants to
watercolor paint your
watercolour paint.
eyes.
I think that was the
So which
conversation.
part of this is the scoop?
The scoop is Andy Twelves has got beautiful eyes.
Exclusive. Off the back of the Matt Goodwin.
Yeah.
The sequel's always worse. He'd been with him in the House of Commons the day before, and he'd gone to this shoot with him, which is really niche, and it's not in central London, so it's not like he was passing through. I don't know the extent of how much he was shadowing him, but I think it's just interesting that may or may not have been a condition or a privilege or something that his brother was able to sort out. I think is just an interesting thing that's going on there. I'm not accusing anyone of anything.
Does your brother get you in the company of Lee Anderson?
No.
Okay.
I don't have a brother.
How much did
I've
you
got
have
a
to
sister.
donate to Reform to get on Lee Anderson's Real World?
They actually pay me. This is the way my sister, I don't have a brother, I've got a sister, and she's got no money because she's a student, so that's sad. But I'm sure if she did, she would pay for me to go and watch Lee Anderson's Real World in a pub in Essex.
There's something in there. I haven't quite put my finger on it, but there's something in there.
Check back with me after the Matt Goodwin scoop. Oh, that also, if people are interested.
You can't drive people to another TV station.
I'm debating him live. It's going to be the end of his career. Keep tuned for the answer.
It is a
Twitter.
great shame that you didn't want to do that here.
Can we talk about that? Is that allowed?
Yeah, you're going to be debating.
No,
Matt
about
Goodwin.
we'd emailed him with the right response, and he was like, oh, you should have had me on to debate it. And Ava was like, yeah, well, we can make it happen. Andy's game. And then he just ignored Ava's email and then went on Twitter after I challenged him to a debate 3 times and on a podcast and gone, right, I'll debate you now. And then falsely accused me of being on contract with GB News. Again, fast and loose with the truth, Mr. Matthew Goodwin. And yeah.
I wonder where he found that factoid.
Now you are going to debate him on GB News.
I am going to debate him, and it's either going to happen tomorrow or Friday, probably. So watch out for that. That'll be fun.
That will be fun.
I'll do
I'll
do the kind of post-match analysis on the pod on
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah.
It's a
Play
good
by
shout.
play.
Inside story. Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. Behind the scenes.
Whose
was
brother
there?
will be foreshadowing.
Whose brother's there? Yeah. Yeah, there's something fishy about brothers in high places.
I just think it's very kind of, it's very medieval. Like you've got this incredible.
I just think it's funny that because all it's hitting in my head is that his brother's a fan of Lee Anderson, and the implication that his brother has paid £12 million so he can go and watch
That's
a
why,
television
I'm
show.
just there's no way. There's no way.
No.
You don't have to donate that much money.
Should have just rang him up and asked.
Yeah.
Well, it's very medieval in the sense that it's like this...
lots of people get work experience with their local
Well,
MPs.
quite.
So imagine if it's work experience. A 40-year-old man getting coffee for Lee Anderson.
He was a bit of he was very...
And Lee Anderson just paying him no mind at all.
Oh, he wasn't
the whole
really, because
time.
he was...
Was he not?
Not really. He's very, he's not like his brother. He's almost like a very Benedict Bridgerton figure, like sort of the second son who's a bit kind of lost and a bit kind
He's
of
the Prince Harry.
Yeah, this kind of simple idiot almost, of just bubbling along whilst his brother's paying 12 million quid for him to go to a live recording of GB News. Which is insane, because if you want to
But we're not alleging that he didn't
Yeah,
do that.
we're
No, of
alleging
course
he
not.
did
That was in jest. That's
That was a
satire.
joke,
That's covered
yeah.
under satire.
Maybe he just so happened to be in the pub.
Yeah, in Essex at 9 a.m. on a Thursday morning.
That's his favourite place and time to drink.
There you go. Crypto, bad though. It's gonna get
Yeah.
banned.
Well, I mean, I guess there is a link in with the poly market stuff we were talking about earlier, isn't there? Because there was the was it during the election or just after the election that Trump had the rug pull on the Trump coin that was on Twitter? And then Melania had a similar thing as well.
And the Hawk Tour girl.
Hawk Tour girl, yeah. Have you watched her on Channel 5?
I haven't, no.
I watched part
I'm
of it.
gonna...
The OnlyFans thing, that's fake. That's AI misinformation.
What OnlyFans?
Well,
That was the only clip I saw from that Channel 5. There was like a rumour going around that she'd started an OnlyFans, and there were like AI generated pictures of her with like cleavage and all the rest of it. And she was like, "You can tell it's fake because I don't have tits." And it was like a whole bit. And she was like, "I can't start an OnlyFans." I'm going to quit the accent.
Matthew McConaughey was being interviewed by Andrew Callahan.
She was like,
I ain't got no tits.
she was just disavowing. She didn't have the body for OnlyFans, which I thought was a shame. 'cause
I don't think
everyone
that's
should be
a
able to
fair
start
thing.
an OnlyFans.
Everybody has the body for an OnlyFans. You can do whatever you want to
Whose
do.
founder died this week, of course.
That's right, yeah.
He was
Rest in power.
That was someone told me the OnlyFans is the most successful British startup of all time.
Yeah.
And it's our biggest export or something ridiculous like that, which is class.
Is it also the fastest unicorn company in history?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
I think it took the title from the Collison brothers that invented Stripe. Two Irish boys, of course. The Collisons.
There you go.
There's another. No,
We've come a long way. We've come a very long way.
Yeah.
I don't really have a whole lot to say about Darren Paffy. It's
Nice to get on the record.
PMQs does have that flavour of it whenever Nigel Farage has a question, doesn't it? That
They
there is
walked
going to
out.
be something.
They did
Who,
walk out.
They
who
walked out.
cares, man? Like people, when you watch it, you see people leaving the chamber the whole time.
But
you
it
know?
was choreographed.
I suppose
it's
that
quite it's quite beggy though. It's like, give me attention. Like we're walking out, and it's like,
I think it's even funnier that none of the cameras caught it.
is
Yeah.
it though? Is it? I mean, what attention would it have gotten had the? Do you know what?
Has he tweeted?
Have you got anything to say about Paffy?
No.
No. Shall we roll the final clip?
yeah.
Roll it.
Can I refer you to paragraph 22.9 of Erskine May, which stresses the primary importance of ministerial responsibility? Now, we've got to admit that Prime Ministers have always tried to dodge questions at Prime Minister's question time, and you're not responsible for the answers they give. But what we have seen in recent weeks is not just dodging questions, but every question asked to the Prime Minister, he refers to the Leader of the Opposition's policies. This is not Leader of the Opposition policies, it's Prime Minister's and the whole...
Can I just say, once again, I said last week, I have not the responsibility or the authority for the answers. What I would say is, it's incumbent on ministers to try and ensure there is an answer. But it is not for me to judge whether the answer is correct or not. You will be politicising the chair. If that's what the House wishes to do, by all means do so. But I have not got the power. Once again, I reiterate what I said last week. Point of order, Cat Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is point of order. And can I seek your guidance, Mr. Speaker, about what the rules are in this chamber, about how many questions a member needs to stay in the chamber for?
None whatsoever. None whatsoever, because we're in questions, so we're right. Right, next one.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've given advance notice to you and the member for Clacton. There's an important tradition and custom in this House that people remain in the chamber for at least...
Order. Absolutely not a point of order, and I've certainly had any indication of what you're asking me, but the answer is not a point of order and not relevant.
We'll go back to Edley.
It's not Edley. It's Sir Edward.
Edley.
Sir Edward Lee.
Edley. We'll go back to him now shortly, but 2 points of order there, saying the exact same thing. I guess the argument that I'm making is, had they not done points of order about Nigel Farage leaving the chamber, nobody would have known and nobody would have cared. But by Labour making a... Labour and your boy, yeah.
My boy. He's a man.
Sorry, he's actually my secret brother that I paid £12 million to get into the House of Commons. So 2 questions there. And had they not been asked, I don't think anyone would have known or cared that Nigel Farage left the chamber.
I imagine...
So it's by giving him oxygen and trying to take him down it doesn't. It's not working. I don't think anyone cares if he left the chamber early.
I imagine people will know because not to misinform, but I imagine it'll be the topic of his GB News monologue today, and he'll tweet about it incessantly.
Yeah.
I would imagine people would have found out either way, but it just makes the uni party, the establishment, look like losers. Because Lindsay Hall
it's
just
like, teacher, he left
Lindsay
before
Hoyle
the
didn't
end.
care.
Yeah, he was like, shut up.
Yeah.
Literally
He
shut up.
was like, this is not a point of order.
Yeah.
Sit
Well,
down.
that's the thing. Josh Beverinde, after seeing the first point of order about the exact same thing, got shut down, immediately goes, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask the exact same thing and see what happens.
Do you think that's because maybe he wanted a little clip for his social media?
Maybe.
In his leadership challenge,
Yes.
taking it to Ed
And
Davey.
tough on reform, he can say, with that clip.
Yeah, real.
Tough on reform and Ed Davey. I don't do any of the... I can't remember what the Lib Dem leadership election was like the last time.
It was funny because Jo Swinson lost his seat, didn't she?
She did.
Yeah.
And
Well, that was
that was
funny
banter.
with Nicola Sturgeon giving it, giving
There
it the
was
big
like
one.
a really insane story about Jo Swinson. This happened for about that she was throwing rocks at squirrels.
Because they were vaping in her garden.
Because they were...
Did you see that? The vaping squirrels, Matt.
Yeah, there was this insane story, and she'd come out and deny it and be like, "I've never thrown rocks at squirrels." Yeah, a viral hoax, claiming she enjoyed killing squirrels, during including an absurd allegation of her using a slingshot on her campaign bus.
A slingshot.
She had to come out and deny it.
Is this 2019 election?
2019.
Yeah.
But there's an incredible line in this Guardian piece.
Is it grey squirrels that she's going for? Do you have red squirrels in
We do
Scotland?
have red squirrels, but in increasingly few numbers.
Well,
So
of
I'm
course,
gonna
Jim
say-
Shannon has famously described the grey squirrel as the
genocide.
The Hamas of the squirrel
Oh
world.
my God, of course. Yeah.
Well, it's become an ethno-nationalist dog whistle on Twitter, amongst
Really?
kind of chronically online ethno-nationalists. They go, the British people are the red squirrel and the grey squirrel is the migrants.
You
and
haven't
it's
had
rah,
red
rah.
squirrels in ages around here.
You see them in forests and stuff.
Well, yeah, but urban squirrels are all grey. No?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
They are
Squirrel
surely.
racist. That's insane. I thought that this was good. In the Guardian piece, it said, did she explicitly refute the claims that she kills squirrels? She did not.
Interesting.
So the question's still open, really.
Jo Swinson, we've got a platform. You've got something to say. Come and dispel the rumours that started 7 years ago that everyone forgot about until now. Yeah. First bit, the Ed Lee point of order.
Sir Edward Lee.
Yeah, okay. I've got a boo for you to lick, man. Cheers. Ed Lee complaining about... No, do you know what? Sorry. Sir Edward Lee complaining about Keir Starmer not answering questions. Does he have a point?
I mean, I don't think anyone is expecting to get hard policy-based answers at PMQs. All it is for both Kemi Badenoch and Keir Starmer is to just have a bunch of their staffers watch the news all week, think what's the best blow we can get, that we can land on the other one, and then we'll clip it for our socials. That is all PMQs is at this point, but it's all it's been for years. So I don't think it's fair to say that this is a new thing under Keir Starmer.
I think one of the weird things that, because each leader of the opposition brings their own thing to PMQs. Keir Starmer was very law and facts and you've broken X regulation.
Well, now, of course, he has the I was right on Iran.
Yeah.
At what point is he going to stop bringing that out?
The leaders of the opposition always take different kind of tactics to PMQs. And Kemi has repeatedly, like Jeremy Corbyn actually did very similarly, just would repeat the question if she didn't get an answer. And she'll ask the same question 4 or 5 times. And I don't really like that style of PMQs. I think one interesting thing about a potential Farage government or a Farage prime ministership, he said on Times Radio, do you remember that? When he fucked off PMQs and said, I'm going to go on Times Radio and commentate live.
Yeah.
During that interview, he said that he would consider bringing back PMQs twice a week, which it was back in the 80s.
Jesus Christ,
because he thinks
it's bad enough it's once every
He thinks
week.
it's really important that the Chief Secretary,
First Secretary of His Majesty's Government.
Whatever it was, it's really important that they get on the record talking.
Isn't that what he's called? First Secretary of His Majesty's Government?
But yeah, he thinks it's really important that it's a real
But
thing.
doing it twice a week is just twice a week of that.
Well, it's when would you put the second day?
Yeah,
Would
you can't have
move
it back
Tuesday,
to back. Is it going to
Thursday,
be Friday? Then you're going to miss out on constituency meetings. if it's Monday, it's a bit too early in the week. You know, this is a nice breakup of the week, having it on a Wednesday, and then tomorrow you're it's Friday.
I'm not sure
the
how
next
much
day.
utility or use there is in even Prime Minister's questions as it is
As it
just
is,
now.
exactly.
But what did constituents get from that, from their MP?
I reckon Nigel Farage saying that on Times Radio is just giving fuel to the fire.
Might be a nod to your kind of traditional conservatives who...
No, it's just like media organisations thrive off of PMQs being a thing. They know
it's
that they
politics
have...
by entertainment.
Yeah. So having that twice a week doesn't matter if there's any substance to it. They just have something that they're guaranteed to be able to talk about twice a week. Like you have... I mean, I guess in some way we do it, but we have a bit of fun with it. We're fast and loose with it. But there are like... There are channels, there are radio stations, television channels that at 6 o'clock will go into great depth on what Keir Starmer said that day. And he hasn't really said all that much, you know. Whether it's the Labour questions that are coming at him that they struggle to lift their head from the page, whether it's the Conservative questions that come at him that he either says, I was right on Iran, or you guys made this mess in the first place, or if it's the Lib Dems, every now and again he'll say you were part of the coalition years that brought in the austerity that we're trying. Like, he says this every week and has done for a year and a half. So how you can continue to have a different take or a different analysis on what he's saying, apart from things like, say, the Mandelson affair or Morgan McSweeney or the beginnings of the Iran war. There are obviously notable times when it comes to big stories, but he doesn't answer the constituency matters that are put to him.
I think PMQs is sort of before I
and I'm
moved
not
to,
saying also, sorry, I'm not saying that it's unique to him. Like it's
everyone does.
Everyone does it. Yeah.
Before I moved to London, I would only get a McDonald's once or once every couple of weeks, and then when I moved,
you
to
never
London,
guess who was in the McDonald's at the time. But Ronald McDonald was in there,
and his brother.
Or sorry, his brother. Yeah, his brother's in there. You're like, there has to be something going on.
Experience.
There's something going on here. What's he doing in here? His brother's in high places, is it? No, go on. You used to only get a McDonald's on a Friday.
Or occasionally. Like, it wasn't even weekly. And then when I moved to London, I didn't really cook because I had a shit kitchen, and I'd get a McDonald's like 2-3 times a week.
A good workman never blames his tools.
It loses its kind of effect. It used to be like a nice treat, and you go, wow, that's really good. I think the same is with PMQs. If you were to bring it up to twice a week, it'd almost become less of a thing. It'd be like, oh, fucking Keir's at it again. Especially if they were to continue doing like kind of slop like he does now.
I think like there was quite interesting pieces that were written maybe a few weeks ago now about sort of the utility of even having cameras in the Commons whatsoever, because basically the allegation is that there has been an extreme deterioration in the level of debate and in the sorts of questions that are being asked, because all MPs are thinking about is how will I clip this for my socials, how will this look as a Facebook post, and it isn't actually about holding the government to account, it's about showboating.
Yeah, I agree.
It's all theatre.
But again, that's why Reform want that, because that is what they want. That's why they would like it to be twice a week, because that's exactly, they want to showboat. They're not actually that interested in the hard work of it.
Yeah.
Interesting, actually, that this week and last week Reform had a question, but did the Greens have a question last week? Did the Greens have a question? Did Seán Berry have a question last week?
I think so.
Yeah.
I wasn't here, so I don't watch PMQs when I'm not here. I feel it's wrong.
I watch it when I'm on holiday.
Just back to back.
I was in India last year, and I was waking up at the crack of dawn. Or no, I wasn't. It was in the evening time. I'd be out for dinner, and I'd zoom right in. Yeah.
That's cute.
Mate, isn't this great? Empire. I'm here. That's happening over there.
Whose empire? Not your empire.
No, there was one point in time. There was one point in time where what was happening in that room there mattered for the people that are around me right now. But now, not so much.
What?
What the fuck are you talking about?
When I was in India, India used to be part of the empire.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was sat there. I wasn't actually doing this.
Do
I
you
was
watch
doing a
them in
bit.
Ireland as well and think the same thing?
No.
PMQs in.
It's not in the same format because we value. I mean, there's not really much substance that comes out of the Taoiseach's questions, but you have longer to ask a question. A lot of the time, it is very much the same thing of getting a clip for socials, depending on what the topic of conversation is. But it's very rarely because one, we're a smaller country, we have less sway in the G7 or in the European Union. They're very much like a lot of it is taken up by housing, by healthcare, like things that matter to people in Ireland. But it's a very relatively a civilized debate.
Periodically, I do see a clip every 2 or 3 weeks of Simon Harris or Michal Martin going, and you fucking support terrorists, and that's why you can't talk about the new bike lane in wherever. And it's like, you're a wanker. Like,
yeah.
What are you on about?
Deputy MacDonald, you've got some nerve coming in here now today, giving out to me about a bike when you guys were once like you had opened up a statue of a man that was in the IRA. But that's all the pomp and bluster that there is about it. There's never really shouting. There's no hear, all that kind of thing. You know.
That's interesting. There's a bit of news that's just dropped. The BBC have officially confirmed their new Director General. It's been leaked for the last couple of days as Matt Britton, who was the former president of Google in Europe, which is really interesting.
The only one on the shortlist without broadcast experience, right?
And the only man on the shortlist, I believe, versus the 2 female senior directors
with
currently at the BBC
experience.
who ran broadcasting. The BBC's never had a female DG, and
who made that decision? Who picks who it is?
the board of the BBC. Who?
Interesting.
Christopher Harborn's brother.
Well, that's the thing. Who is Matt Britton's brother? That's the real question. Who got him that job? Who's he paid?
Great Britain.
As Google.
Son of little brother of Great.
Please, Great's my father. I think we need to put a plug in it because we're just chatting shite now at this stage.
Well, who's Joe? Who's Joe's brother? That's the real question.
Who Joe's the Joe man? Who is Joe's?
Who is Joe? I've been doing this channel for 3 months. I've still not met him.
Who's
Joe?
Joe is the average Joe.
Who's Joe? I've not met him.
I've just said who Joe is. Do you want me to? I can repeat.
The average Joe. What's
the average Joe? You know, the average Joe soap, like Joe on the street.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what it is.
That's disappointing.
Who's the lad in Lad Bible?
It's the guy that went and ran comms for Number 10. The guy that got hired. What's his name? Mr. Ladd.
What?
I think we've hit
Can we
out.
end this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Bye.